Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Please honor our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
Councilor Kennedy.
Here.
Councilor Leahy.
Here.
Councilor Laurie.
Here.
Councilor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Mendonça.
Here.
Councilor Mercia.
Here.
Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Councilor Nguyen.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you. At this time, I'd recognize Councilor Noon.
Mayor, if I may offer a moment of silence for the victim of the Boston Marathon and all those affected families right now. Also, a moment of silence for Dennis White, a 15-year-old boy who was drowned last Tuesday at the Greater Lowell.
Thank you. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to echo Councilor Noon's moment of silence in darkened chamber for the 2 adults and the 8-year-old boy who perished as a result of the horrific act of violence that happened at the Boston Marathon yesterday. I would also ask that this prayer be offered to the 170 injured as well and wish them comfort and speedy recovery, both physically and mentally, and know that our thoughts and prayers are with them all. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you all please rise in a moment of silence in darkened chambers? May they rest in peace. We have under the mayor's portion of the agenda, communication from the Green Building Commission, the Green Building Award. Mr. Green?
Thank you, Mayor Murphy. Thank you, members of the City Council. Thank you, city staff. I'm very pleased to be here. I'm Stephen Green. I'm a member of the Green Building Commission, and I don't know some of them. I have one former member of the Green Building Commission here, David Ouellette. But it gives me great pleasure to be here tonight to present our 4th annual Green Building Excellence Award. In this case, it's going to be to UTEC for their LEED Platinum building. I'm going to make 3 quick points, and then I want to turn the floor over to Greg so he can talk a little bit about the project. Their project is a great example of what can be done with the historic fabric that we have here in the city. And if you'll remember, one of the other award winners, the first award winner, was Nobis Engineering on Middlesex Street, and they converted an old factory building into a a LEED Gold building. And their building is considered one of the oldest, but it's not a LEED Platinum building, which the Greg's building, the UTEC building, is. And it's also the LEED oldest Platinum building. But we've had 4 awards: Nobis Engineering, Pride Star, Unity Place. Unity Place was actually a new construction, but Unity Place and shows what can be done at a subsidized housing project, and the benefits of energy efficiency can be accrued and used for going forward for a long time, saving the city and the like. Great, large amounts of money. So the other points I wanted to make are the Green Building Commission's mission is really to ensure that the city reduces its carbon footprint, providing guidance and help in doing that. And we were fortunate enough with the vision of the city manager to help create the commission. And we've been able to award these 4 previous awards and 2 residential awards. And we've also been able to bring the city money in the form of the Green Communities funds that you've seen. Over $500,000 have been there. And then just to let you know that the Green Building Commission has been actively working with planning and development and supporting the master plan. And the master plan is a great example of how sustainability in every meaning of the definition can be going forward. So what I'd like to do is ask Greg to come forward, say a few words. I'm going to flip the slides in no particular order, and but just to show you what the building looks like. And that also what you don't see is that it also has photovoltaic panels on the roof, which is a rather remarkable occurrence considering it's a downtown building that had to meet the historic requirements. So very well done, excellent work. Go.
All right. Thank you, Steve. I want to thank the Green Building Commission. I am here with a crew from UTEC, Will, Jordan, who's underage right now for UTEC, but early. Shirley, Antoine, Anthony, and Annalisa. And so we just want to thank the council in particular for all your support for this building. This has gone on for many years, and without the council support, we wouldn't be here today. I also want to thank the Historic Board. We had a variety of meetings with the Historic Board that made this building stronger. And as Stephen said, it's unique. We get calls from all over the country. How did you manage to pull off these solar panels on a historic building that was built in 1839? And a lot of it was because of all the collaboration we had with so many different folks. And I also want to thank Adam, who was very helpful with us from the very, very beginning of our process searching for the building. And a lot of, we had a variety of different supports to get this building, private foundations, individuals, but our State House delegation was instrumental. Representative Murphy, Representative Golden, Representative Nangle, former State Senator Pangiatakis, State Senator Eileen Donahue. And lastly, on the federal side, we were very fortunate to receive recovery money and through the support of Congresswoman Tsongas. So thanks to everybody who helped. Each brick, we always say, we're only as strong as the power of our partnerships. And we had so many different partnerships to make this building. So we want to be brief, but the building, as Steve mentioned, we were able to receive LEED Platinum status, which is the highest level in terms of being a green building. After much research, we were able to verify that we are the oldest LEED Platinum building in the country. So now we get to say we're the oldest, greenest building in the world. And we'll be really kind of taking that as a launching ground. For us, from day one, the young people really wanted to make sure that this building was more than just being a green building, but really taking it and being a green education center. So when you walk through the building, ideally you can see how it comes about to be a green building and what are the different ways that may not be so visible. So we turn our steeple into a thermal chimney. We have no passive cooling systems. We have solar panels on the roof that basically save about 88% of all electricity. We're now seeing the bills. We're now eager to see the bills we get from National Grid. And so we're seeing now the benefits come to life. But for us, really, the building talks to the idea of sustainability. So when we think of UTEC and our mission, we often think about sustainability in that we're helping create paths for young people, for them to lead more sustainable lives. We also want to be an agency that is able to innovate and not be just reliant on charitable giving. So we were really focused on building social enterprises. So we have food services. We have a mattress recycling enterprise. And for us, the building allowed us to kind of really build the sustainability of our operations in terms of being more sustainable over the coming years. And lastly, being a community education center, this building really speaks to that. So when you walk in, the first floor you'll see is a cafe. We hope to open our cafe sometime in the fall. It'll not only be a hub for the Green Education Center, but also be a hub for food security. And so that theme of sustainability will come to life in the cafe. You'll see that there's a number of jobs. This building was unique in the sense that we were able to provide 30 young people jobs throughout the construction process. We did all the demolition work. We did a lot of the painting. We did a lot of the minor carpentry in partnership with the Carpenters Union. So we never stopped for one day with our operations. We were able to integrate that into the overall program design. So as we kind of wrap up the building now and we're moving forward, we now have basically double the amount of capacity for us to serve our programs. So we now have young people engaged in GED programming, where we have classrooms on the second and third floors. We have all the work that we do to the social enterprises. In essence, that really would never have happened without the support of this building, which really for us moves us into the coming years. So I just wanted to again thank Steve, thank the Green Building Commission, thank the council, and as always, you're welcome to stop by UTEC for a tour anytime. So thank you.
Thank you. And look, Mayor Murphy, could we just present the plaque together? Good. Congratulations. All right, thank you. There you go. Great, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have under the city clerk's portion of the agenda, minutes of the city council meeting of April 9th, flood issues subcommittee of April 9th for acceptance. Move to accept by Councilman Donson, second by Councilor Mercia. Councilman Donson.
If the clerk could just add on the flood subcommittee that I was also present at that subcommittee meeting. So as amended, I'd
Move to accept as amended. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Could we move something up?
Councilor
In the,
Laurie.
We have an appointment to the boards tonight. Ryan Rourke, he's here tonight instead of making him wait.
Motion to suspend the rules by Councilor Laurie, second by
Item number
Councilor
7.
Councilor Leahy. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. We have a communication to appoint Ryan Rourke to the Board of Parks. What's the wish of the council?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Councilor Laurie, second by Councilor Mendonça. Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager. Is this a new appointment, or is he replacing someone that doesn't seek to run, to be?
He will be replacing someone. We have 2 vacancies on the Board of Parks, and he will be replacing one of those members.
We don't know which one.
I actually don't have that, Counselor, but I'll be happy to. It may be, I believe this is the seat of Bernie Judge, but I'll double check on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Elliott.
So who's the other one, Mr. Manager, that's not on the, is this one that has lapsed, or?
No, this is one that we received notification from 2 of the members that they would, and the other name right now escapes me, and I apologize. But we have 2 vacancies, and this will be filling one. There's still one vacancy on that.
When did these expire a while ago?
This expired, actually, this expired just this past December, I believe.
So, okay. So the other one, you're going to bring another one in at some point in time? Did that one expire at the
Hopefully
same?
within about the same time.
Next time.
Hopefully that will come in at the same time, within the next couple of weeks.
And while we're on appointments, how come we haven't seen anything in the Lowell Memorial Auditorium? There were 3 there's 1 vacancy and 2 that have expired quite some time ago. I know Councilor Kennedy has filed a number of motions on boards and commissions, but considering the significance of this contract that is in place, why haven't you moved to either reappoint and fill those vacancies?
Well, one of the vacancies is the only real vacancy right now, the only seat that has no one in it is the veteran seat. As you know, we had a member who resigned, so I'm interviewed one new person for that, and been in coordination with the Veterans Council over a couple of other names, perhaps. And so that I hope to have nailed down within the next couple of weeks. The other members are in holdover status, and I'm also interviewing at least 2 people right now who have an interest in the auditorium board as well.
So how long ago did those holdover status individuals?
Those go back a couple of years, actually.
Yeah, why is that? Why are we just holding over? It doesn't make sense. Either you're going to reappoint them and say thank you for your service, or move on and interview somebody. It just seems that, it's significant, the contract is important, and have those two, my understanding, those two individuals are interested, correct?
That's something that I'm discussing with them.
Okay, so tell me why you haven't, a couple of years now?
I haven't made a decision yet.
Why? Why is that? I'm pressing you because I'd like to know what the reasoning is behind it. If there's openings, there are vacancies, we should be filling them, particularly on this board. We had appointments last week, library trustees, Board of Parks, et cetera. They've been coming in, but nothing on this, and
The bottom line is, I'm looking for the right people for the Board of Trustees.
so is there a delay? Why is there the delay? You're looking for the right people. It seems, look, Mr. Manager, you and I both know, it's been a couple of years. So I would like to see, before this contract comes forward, there was a motion, it was passed, that these members be involved. Mr. Clutie did resign quite some time ago. Mr. Topia and Mr. O'Donnell have expressed their interest quite some time ago. And I just think that you're playing politics with these two appointments. And I know you're smiling, Mr. Manager, but tell me why you haven't either decided to bring someone forward or not, if these are a couple of years old. That's the only thing that I can think of.
Well, Councilor, I can assure you that I'm not playing politics with it. That's not my style. But I'm looking for the right people that will do the best job for this, that will be here for the long haul, and that I think will be the right fit for the job that lies ahead with administering this contract.
When do you plan on?
And I'm hoping to make those appointments probably within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
So after 2 years, it's going to take you 2 or 3 more weeks to bring this forward. When do you plan on bringing the contract forward?
I hope to bring that forward in 2 weeks.
So, and we heard that quite some time ago. It was going to take a couple of weeks last time we had the discussion. I want to make sure we get the right
Counselor,
contract.
I've let this discussion go on, but we are straying very far from
You're
the
right.
agenda item, which is the appointment of Mr. Rourke to the
Right.
Board of Parks.
Okay.
And has very little to do with the Lowell Memorial Auditorium.
Agreed. I'll file a motion on it. Thank you.
Good. Any further discussion on this item? Roll call, please.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Madonza.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. And we have Mr. Rourke here.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to helping serve this great community of Lowell in any way I can. So appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being willing to serve.
Thank you.
Returning to the regular agenda, we have under the city manager's portion of the agenda, communication from city manager, responses to city council motions and requests. Any discussion? Council Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few here tonight. One is request the proper department install bullpen and batting cages near the benches at Hadley Park. And we did get a report back, and matter of fact, Mr. Ryan will be on the Board of Parks now. They also want a batting cage, and that will go before the Board of Parks. That's a park that's used by several organizations now. The other one is the bocce court. I visited the bocce court the other day. It was Cambodian New Year, and I was over at Clemente Park, and I saw the courts. And on the shuffleboard, it came back, probably the best place would be Shed Park, because you could sign out the equipment. If we could also look at the North Common, this idea originally came from the senior center. Talked to an individual over there, and they were looking to get a shuffleboard at the North Common. Now, during Greek Independence Day, I found an old handball court over there by the pool that's no longer used. As far as I know, it's not used. If we could turn that into a shuffleboard surface and maybe sign the equipment out at the senior center, if that could be done. There is a pool area at the North Common, but the idea for the shuffleboard surface itself came from the senior center, so maybe they could sign it out there and go across the street.
We can, Council, we can follow up on that and see about that. The issue with the handball court is it may be on state land if it's next to the pool. But
Okay.
we'll follow up on that.
And the last motion I did have was on closing Middle and Palmer Street. And I do see the director of Cool here tonight, and I want to, Susan Halter, and thank her for her efforts. The idea behind this really is, when you look at the neighborhoods around the city, the Highlands has a summer series now up at the park, up off Westford Street. With the Friends of Gage Field, we're probably going to have a summer series over in Gage Field to raise money for a park over there. Downtown is a huge neighborhood now. So really the idea here is how do we find an area downtown where the people downtown can really call their own, as some areas are closing parks for the night and having different things. So anything we could do to work with the neighborhood groups downtown and the businesses would be greatly appreciated. And again, I want to thank Susan Halter for her report and again, the administrations. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Councilor, I agree. I think what the effort we're looking at here is trying to tie it in with a number of the different activities that we already have taking place in the downtown, but certainly we're always on the lookout for additional opportunities. But certainly the Fresh Air Fridays, the bus stops that we've put in place, the farmers market, and that has grown beyond just a farmers market to also have some entertainment from time to time. But certainly we'll look at some other opportunities as they arise as well.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Kennedy.
Yeah, regarding the response to the, on the kiosks, there's a memorandum to you from the parking director that was in our packet. And I think a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was 2 meetings ago, I brought up, there was a person that had called me that had difficulty using a credit card over on Middlesex Street. So the memorandum reads that currently the deployed kiosks are all signed to indicate they take Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. Did that just happen? Because the person that called me, one of the reasons they called is because there wasn't anything that indicated that it would take American Express at the time, and in fact, it was an American Express card that wouldn't work.
I don't know, Mr. Troop, do you happen to know whether the kiosks were signed previously to indicate American Express?
There's a template sign that's on all of the kiosks. They do take MasterCard, Visa, American Express, and they actually take Discover now. That issue will be addressed with the new kiosks and a new template that will be...
What issue?
No, the fact that they'll take Discover. The current sign does not indicate that they take Discover. That actually transitioned when we changed over the new contract from Central Parking to Republic Parking.
Okay. I was told that the kiosks over on Middlesex Street, in the vicinity of the Registry of Motor Vehicles, that they don't indicate what credit cards they'll take. And there's no indication that it takes American Express. Now, I didn't go over and look at those myself. That's what I was told. Do you think that's incorrect? Do you think that there is signage there for those?
Without looking at it, I believe that that's incorrect. But as I said, there's a template sign that I'd be happy to dispatch our kiosk technician tomorrow morning. If it needs to be changed, we'll be happy to change it tomorrow.
Okay. Could you just have somebody check on that?
Absolutely.
That's like that. And then in the next paragraph, there's also, it talks about the cell phone network. I guess I just don't understand that. It says there are infrequent issues with credit card transactions due to the cell phone network currently running on the kiosks. Can you just explain that to me?
At the early garage and in that general area, the cell phone technology and network pointed to a tower that just is not functioning right now. They don't even use it as part of their network. So they had to redirect where the cell phones were pointed. And it actually goes somewhere in Andover right now, the specific location, I don't know. But because of just the logistics and the infrastructure over there, it does have a hard time handling a cell phone call on the AT&T network. The new proposal actually addresses that by switching to the Verizon network, which is a little bit stronger. But also at the early garage, we are planning on hardwiring the kiosks and the new kiosks that are going into the early garage, so they'll be as reliable as a regular phone call.
Because what are we doing?
We're going to hardwire the actual kiosks in the early garage.
Okay, so then we won't be depending on that
We will
tower
not be-
in Andover anymore?
No, we will not, and we'll be dependent on just a regular phone call through, a regular network call. The cell calls in that area will now be switched over to the Verizon network with the deployment of the new kiosks.
And when will that happen?
With the deployment, there's actually a test with a upgraded modem right now that seems to be working. But again, we're switching networks to Verizon with the new deployment.
And when will that be?
As soon as they're delivering them and starting to get installed.
But I'm not going to hold you to it, but do you think it's going to be in a month, or is it going to be in 3 months? Or?
I would say that the beginning of June, we'll put the new kiosks
Okay.
in the ground.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Noon?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank the Assistant City Managers, Adam Backey, for the detailed report on the detailed inventory of city-owned lands, which is very helpful. Going to go into detail on it later after this. But also, I'd like to thank the city solicitor with report on the a final draft on the proposed license commission rule and regulations. Is it my understanding that the commissioner have adopted most, if not all, the council requests for change? Is that through you to the city solicitor, if I may?
That's correct, Councilor.
One of the sections, I believe, is 2.03 on the entertainment closing down the hours. That was changed from 1 hour prior to closing to 45 minutes prior to closing. Was that adopted by all the commissioners?
I believe that was a 3-0 vote, that's my recollection. And it was intended to keep the spirit of what the council and the police department and the manager's office were recommending, but also to try to accommodate businesses as they may be affected by the implementation of some of these specific rules, such as the hours of entertainment.
Was all this change adopted, some of the comment that elicited from the public hearing that the commissioner had? I believe you indicated in your on your letter to us that the commissioner had 5 public hearings to review this regulation already. Is that?
Correct. They had 5 working sessions, 5 hearings that were open to the public. In fact, one of the members, one of the owners of the bar that is an establishment that's with us this evening attended, I think, almost all of those sessions. So if people had questions as the License Commission went along, they would entertain those issues. And the actual public hearing, where we would anticipate more people participating prior to a final adoption, is coming up on the 25th.
Aside from the closing, the prior to closing time, is there any other major change that you know of in this final proposed regulation?
The only other substantive change really had to do with, and it's really an improvement, and that is that instead of specifically listing special conditions, the License Commission instead opted to put forth a reservation of rights to, on an as-needed basis, impose special conditions. which then eliminated the need for a waiver, so that everyone will live under the same general conditions, and on a case-by-case basis, as needed and if needed, there will be special conditions imposed.
Is that under 3.01 special conditions? I noticed that you list, for example, a video camera installed in the establishment and maybe other conditions as the commissioner deem appropriate. Is that?
That's exactly how it's intended to read, that it would, these are just some examples of special conditions that could be imposed. There may be other special conditions that are not listed that will be called for on a particular, again, case-by-case basis.
Is there any desire at all in terms of, I think one of the concerns I heard as well from the establishment is the prior to closing time. Now it broke down from 1 hour to 45 minutes before the closing time. Is there any desire with the commissioner in terms of reduce down it to maybe half an hour before the closing time that you think of?
Well, that's just with respect to the entertainment. There is a quote, last call provision, which is a half hour before closing. With respect to the entertainment, as they proceed through the public hearing, and they have an opportunity to hear from various views on that through members of the public and through owners of some of the establishments, they certainly would have it within their ability to make any adjustments if necessary. And if they have to repost, they can repost depending on the nature of the change, and or they can adopt or not adopt.
The public hearing that's scheduled for the 25th here at 7 o'clock, is this going to be the final public hearing?
It is anticipated and expected that this would be the final public hearing.
And then this proposed final draft proposed regulation will go before the commissioner for voting up or down, right?
Correct.
It's not coming back to the council?
No. Other than by way of information, if presumably it's adopted, you will have a final version of what has been adopted, and if it hasn't been adopted, you'll receive a communication from me explaining the circumstances.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Council Leahy, then Council Lori.
Thank you. I have a few questions. I'll stay on this first, so through you to the solicitor. When I went through the, I don't know what page it is, but for entertainment hours, does that just include bands, or is that for everything, like jukebox and any type of music?
I think it's intended in a broader sense. So if you had, say, sporting events on, other types of music, other than just live entertainment.
All right.
It's intended to begin to wind an establishment down for the evening so that people can filter out in that last half hour,
And
45
people,
minutes.
and they had 4 meetings already then?
They had 5, actually.
5? And these were accepted by business owners?
I did mention that there was one owner of an establishment that's here this evening that attended what I would describe as regularly, but by and large, my recollection is that these sessions did not attract a large number of proponents or opponents as the License Commission went through the regs.
I mean, some of it just doesn't seem practical to enforce. I mean, to shut down music 45 minutes before. There's a section in here about alcohol is prohibited by employees. I mean, you know, basically, we all know when you finish up your shift and you're all done, people will sit around and have a drink at the end of the night. So I don't know why, you know, that seems foolish to put that in there. If that's a new rule, then it's a new rule. But I just would like to see some practical strategies here, you know? I mean, are we gonna really go around and enforce that people who work at these establishments have to just close up and leave? And then I guess, you know, some of the other stuff seems all right, but a couple of questions I had, like 1 hour before closing, you can't let anybody in, but does that include anybody that wants to go out for a smoke or to take a phone call or something like that? So it just seems very broad. So, you know, if it's not gonna be enforced, why is it gonna be down here, written down? So, and I had spoken to a couple of people, I don't know if they chose not to show up or if they just didn't know. It kind of seemed like they didn't know about them, so maybe they just don't know where to look, or I don't know how it was advertised or whatever. So that's all I had on that. I had a couple of questions about other things in here, through you to the manager. I got the response for the Sun Building, and it looks like the building department is pressing them to get the work done, but there's a few establishments. There's a restaurant right next to the Sun Building that's been affected by this, and obviously she'd like to have the situation cleared up as soon as possible because it's affecting her business. So I didn't know if anybody's in touch with her to let her know what's going on. I can't think of the name of the restaurant. It's
Sogo?
yeah, so, I mean, I know it's a problem for them. So, and I understand that they're looking for a new GC now to get the building underway, to get the repairs underway, but that's gotta be a couple of years now, right, that this has been ongoing? So, okay, and then I had a question, well, a couple comments on my response for the, let's see, for an outreach type program for downtown businesses. I read the report, and basically what I was looking for is just trying to get a little bit more of a response on if we actually have someone that goes downtown to meet regularly with the business owners. What I've been hearing is that they would like to have someone come through, whatever it is, maybe once a month or once every 3 months or something, and just to ask, you know, what's going on, what's happening. Some of the things I've heard when businesses close up, you know, are we going out and are we asking sort of like an exit poll or an exit interview to say, you know, what happened? Is there something we could have done? Is there something that could have helped you succeed in the downtown area? So I'd like to see more of that. And as I said before, it's just simple things. When I was out of town a couple of weekends ago, just keeping the sidewalks clean, where we have the trees in the sidewalks. Sometimes the bark mulch gets washed out during the year, and then it doesn't seem like we're right on that to get the sidewalks presentable again. I did notice where I was that they almost had like a rubber mat. So instead of actually putting in bark mulch, it's kind of like a rubber coating that looks like bark mulch, but it eliminates you know, it doesn't wash away. It stays there. It must let the water go through. So it kind of serves a dual purpose. It looks good for a longer time, and it still allows the trees to get water. So I'd like to follow up on this report, and I don't know if it would go to a subcommittee. I'd like to maybe address it to one of the subcommittees.
Economic Development.
Okay, yeah, and then we could just talk about it further.
Motion to refer the report to the Economic Development Subcommittee by Council Leahy, second by Council Kennedy. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted.
Okay, and then I just have one other question on Council Loring's motion for the downtown, got it here somewhere, the downtown neighborhood summer schedule, right? So I guess at the end of the report, it just, I don't know if it says we're gonna actually do anything, or we're not gonna.
They're gonna continue doing what they've done in the past, working with the neighborhoods.
What we're going to do is we're going to, as I said in response to Councilor Laurie, comments, that we do quite a bit in terms of the summer music series, the Fresh Air Fridays, which we do a number of different street performers downtown. We certainly work with the outdoor dining with a number of the establishments where we subsidize some of the performer fees. We've instituted these new bus stops where we have the outside performers on the streets throughout the downtown. And then we have the farmers market that we work cooperatively with CTI and the people running the farmers market to do a number of children's activities and entertainment. So we have quite a bit going on already, and we'd like to sort of focus on that instead of decreasing what we're doing there and making it sort of diluting everything in order to do the closure of Middle, which in Palmer, which we've done in the past with very little success.
Okay. All right, I don't get downtown on the weekends as much as I used to, so I'm sure all this goes on and it's fun. I do remember a few years ago when Councilor Ramirez put that motion in, and we had the Middle Street and Palmer Street closed, and it seemed like it went over well, but I think they did it 6 times maybe during the summer.
We could pull that report out. We did review that and report back to the council on the lack of success, given the money that we invested in that. We had very little success with that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Council Laurie and then Council Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city solicitor, excuse me, I'm fighting an awful cold. On the report from the License Commission, it says hours of operation, 8 to 2 on Saturday, Monday through Saturday, up till 2 o'clock on, say, Sundays, Memorial Day, Christmas Day. The last line, after 11 p.m., all patrons are off the premises before closing times. Are we closing down at 11 o'clock? That one sentence there would tell you we're going to close at 11.
What page are you on?
It's 404.02. Hours of operation.
Okay.
The very last sentence, after 11 p.m., all patrons are off the premises before closing times.
After 11 p.m. So if it's after 11 p.m., then all patrons are off the premises before the closing time, or, right at the closing time. The intent is to not allow patrons to stay in the establishment beyond the closing time of 2 o'clock.
So why does it say 11 p.m.? That's 2 hours difference.
No, it's saying after.
After 11 p.m., all patrons are off the premises before closing time.
Right.
I
If you have a
read
closing
that-
time, not everybody, I don't believe everybody has a 2 o'clock closing time. There may be some establishments that have an earlier closing time. But what they're saying is that once you get beyond 11 o'clock, whatever that closing time is, all patrons have to be out, essentially, just prior to the doors closing.
Okay, so if you have a 2 o'clock closing, it's still 2 o'clock.
That's correct. Right, that's correct.
On the special conditions, it just gives a couple examples. Say I have a small bar in back Central Street, and I get about 25 customers, and they go out for a cigarette after 1 o'clock. Could I put in for an exemption that they could come back in?
There is no a waiver that had appeared in a previous draft. There is no waiver. There is only the general conditions that apply to everyone without the ability to have a waiver, on the grounds that whatever change would occur in the general conditions would then impact all license holders. The section that you're referring to, special conditions, there are no special conditions listed as of yet. There are only examples of them. And again, those are meant to be used when the license commission determines that it is appropriate for special conditions to be placed on a license holder.
So they can be expanded on a license for a bar, depending on conditions.
Right. If there's a license holder that the License Commission has had, say, repeated problems with of a particular nature, they may devise a special condition that is intended to be applied to just that license holder and designed to address just that condition.
And they would bring that up when they get their license or when they go for renewal.
Or if they came forward for a disciplinary hearing, which would then potentially involve a modification of their license.
See, on the weekends, we have some businesses that close at 1 o'clock, 1:15, and they stop in for a drink, say at 1:30, 20 minutes or 2. So if you do have a few customers, you could put in for that if you do have that type of clientele.
Well, there is in the general conditions, which again apply to everyone, there is the half-hour last call.
So so if I get out of work at 1:15, I can't stop anywhere for a beer unless I get there by 1:30.
Unless you get there by 1, I believe.
By 1?
I believe it's an hour. 1 hour, yeah. Under 2.02, patron entry hours, patrons shall not be allowed to enter or re-enter a licensed establishment 1 hour prior to the licensed establishment closing time.
Basically, they're shutting down everyone who works second shift in the city.
Well, again, these are issues that during the course of the public hearing, they may hear that type of message from many people that come. But I can tell you that when this came before the council, one of the things that the police department was very concerned about was the idea of people leaving, particularly from outside the city, and then coming in that last hour. So the last hour of re-entry became a critical point, in particular, as recommended by the police department. And so that's what that was designed to begin to address.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just back on the regulations as well. You know, the way this all started and the reason that we have these regulations is because we had trouble last year with a couple of bars downtown. And now we're going to have a public hearing later on this month that will be Thursday, the 25th of April at 7 o'clock here. And at that public hearing, we're doing that to try to address the problems that we've had downtown. But in doing so, it seems to me that what we're doing, or what the License Commission is intending to do with this proposal, is to penalize every drinking establishment in the city. And we're not doing anything in particular to address the two places downtown that were the problem. This is just on tonight for informational purposes, but it's my intention to file a motion or motions for next week that will address Section 2.02 and Section 2.03 next week, which would be prior to the public hearing. But I really think that the City Council should weigh in on this prior to the public hearing. And rather than to make the motions tonight, I'd rather make them next week so that everybody has a good amount of time to deliberate and decide on what they think is best. But the idea that there are some places that kind of depend on having entertainment late into the evening on the weekends, and that's what they depend on. And I don't understand what the point is of shutting everybody off 45 minutes before. I don't know how that addresses. It doesn't just address the two bars that are causing the problems downtown. It addresses other bars that aren't causing any problems at all. It's the same thing with the idea of not letting anybody enter or re-enter a licensed establishment 1 hour prior to the licensed establishment's closing time. Basically, you're almost making a 1 o'clock closing time, because you can stay in there if you get in there by 12:59, but you can't go in if it's 1 o'clock. And that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, and I don't know how that's all going to work out all that well. I can see where there would probably be a lot of violations regarding that all over the city. But more than that, what really bothers me about this is that these two items were originally intended to be under special conditions. And the idea at that time was that bars could get a waiver that would make them exempt from this. But we're not doing that. Now we're putting it into the general conditions rather than special conditions, and making it be that everybody has to live by that, whether they've been in trouble or they have never been in trouble. And there are places that never have any trouble, that run their place perfectly well with the way things are without having any of these general conditions put upon them. So all you're going to do is to harm them. And in doing so, it doesn't seem to me that we're doing anything really to address the problems with the 1 or 2 bars that are causing the problems downtown. And that's all that the City Council ever asked the License Commission to address last year. They didn't ask them to impose special conditions on every other drinking establishment in the city. I did have another question on what Council Laurie had brought up. I think that 402 just doesn't read well. It's pretty confusing. I mean, you can explain it, but I don't think you're going to be able to explain it to everybody as we go along. And I think it just doesn't. I think it's just poorly written, and that the intent is. I think it can be easily confusing. I was confused, and if Council Laurie didn't ask the question regarding that, then I would have. But anyways, let me just put everybody on notice that I expect to file 2 motions to dealing with those, and then we can just take it up. And I really think that the council should weigh in prior to this public hearing on these 2 issues. That's all I have to say for right now.
Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, too, agree with Councilor Kennedy when he says that I know that we had some problems in the downtown, and it was major, and we needed to correct it. But it seems to me that, in my opinion, we're painting the whole city with the same brush, and I think we're making businesses follow rules that they didn't violate in the first place, and we're making it stricter for them. And I thought there was such a thing that a waiver would come in to help these businesses. And having said that, we do have a business owner here that has followed every meeting and every review and every change here, and went to every single meeting because I happened to be watching at home when these meetings were televised. And I'd like to suspend the rules and allow this person to say a few words. He would know better than me. He is the businessman, and he's Nick Petrakis. I was wondering if we could allow him to come to the microphone for less than 5 minutes, please.
Motion to suspend the rules by Councilor Mercia, second by Councilor Laurie. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Mr. Petrakis.
Thank you. I'll just, say something really fast. I didn't expect to say anything. I just came to see what's going on because it really affects my family. So, as the city solicitor said, I've gone to all the meetings. I was one of the few people now. The reason a lot more owners of restaurants or pubs or bars weren't there was because they didn't know. And you can say, well, they should have, but they didn't know because they were getting misinformation, because I was telling them and they were assuring me, no, there will be waivers, it's not for everyone, it's on a per case basis. So that's why they weren't going, because I was telling them. And they were hearing this from, different sources. So just a couple points and cases. For instance, most of the areas around us, the contiguous areas around us, are not 1 o'clock. I know we use Billerica because they are 1, but Drake gets 2 o'clock, Tingsborough's 2 o'clock, Chelmsford has 2 o'clock licenses. So people aren't flooding here from other areas. And we'll be chasing business to other areas if we do that. And like Councilor Laurie said, I get people from when the Athenian corner closes or when Fuses closes, all their staff will come to me and have a beer. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but if you've seen all the places that are closing down downtown, it adds up to a lot. It's up $50, $60 on 3-4 nights a week. I mean, I don't complain about anybody getting a raise, and I don't begrudge anybody that, but we're barely scraping by, and it does add up. And like some of the other councils have said, it would make a big difference to me because, yeah, I let them in, they bring their staffs, and like I said, 2-3 times a week. It might only be $50, $60, but 2-3 times a week, if you do the math, it adds up. And as far as entertainment, we do functions. So it's not just, and I don't even know how the golf courses would do it, because I know that I live on the street that the Mount Pleasant Golf Course is on, and they have weddings and their music goes to, 1:30, 20 of. So that extra 15 minutes, I've had people tell me, we can't shut our music off at, 1:15. We shut it off at 1:30 anyways, so I could go right till 2 o'clock. And on certain nights, I'd have no problem shutting it off at 1 or 1:15. But if I did have a function and I let it go past that, now I'd be breaking the law and could be held responsible. So I don't think it should be, I think as Councilor Mercia said, or Councilor Kennedy, a broad brush for everybody. I think, there's new commissioners now, and they can take things, all the things that'll be in the new regulations, they have the power to do. They can roll back hours, they can stop someone's entertainment license, they can take away their license. For me or anybody else, I just think we should, let them see what they're doing, because the regulations as they stand would prove very, very, very detrimental to myself and some other owners. So, thank you, I appreciate it. I hope I didn't talk too long.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On another issue, I wanted to just briefly talk about Councilor Leahy's motion about the businesses, and quite recently, there was an article in the paper about the different business owners in the downtown, and a lot of them were happy with the way things were going, but then there were a few that said that the city is set back in time and that it's not as clean as it used to be, and that was troubling to me to hear that. Of course, riding by downtown and looks okay to me, but when you're walking, it's a different story. I haven't been walking downtown, so I don't really know firsthand what they're saying, but through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city manager, DPW, the Parks Department, or someone had a city employee downtown with the big vacuum cleaner. Are we still continuing that in the spring, or we're not doing it?
No, we're doing that, and we're
still
actually
doing it.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, I mean,
I see it on a regular basis as I'm downtown. It comes by here, and yep.
And then, of course, we have Chris Samaras, that's the downtown coordinator. Has he ever done any reports as to, the reason I'm saying this is because I don't want to go see a business and say, gee, I know you're moving out. Why is that happening? Can't we just be on an ongoing basis to have the coordinator stop in and say, how's things? Everything all right? Is there anything the city can do? Not shut the door after the horse is gone. Do you know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. We meet regularly. Chris is down there. He also has another hat that he wears with the special events that he coordinates. But we have other members of the Economic Development Office that are down there on a regular basis. In fact, I had a conversation with Teresa Park earlier today about starting to do some roundtables to have me go down on a quarterly basis or thereabouts to meet with a group of business people. But certainly if there's, and the feedback we get, because I myself go down and I stop into businesses, particularly the new businesses that are down there, but also the established ones, and talk to the business people. And obviously there are issues that they bring up that they'd like addressed. I can go to any neighborhood of the city and I see things, and you get the same thing, and I see things myself that no one has talked to me about, and we make, ask for actions to be taken. But we do, certainly reach out to the businesses downtown, and we're looking to continue to build upon that, to talk to them. And if a business does move out, oftentimes they move out, they make the decision before we have an opportunity to talk to them. And there are a variety of reasons why businesses move out, because we do talk to them after the fact. And, you know, there's oftentimes it's business operations as opposed to what's going on with the city. They change their business model. They run into some personal situations that result in their closing. But you know, and the retail market is a very difficult one. If you go to any large shopping mall, medium-sized shopping mall, you're going to see empty storefronts. But if you look downtown, I think you'll see a number of new businesses that have opened up in the last several months. We have a new restaurant going in where Fortunato's used to be. We have a new bakery. We have a new flower shop. We have a new candy store. We have a couple of new galleries that have opened up. You know, we see new businesses coming all the time. But at the same time, you're going to see a business that closes from time to time as well. So, but we're continuing to invest in the downtown. We're continuing to maintain the downtown with those vacuum vehicles. We continue to work with the businesses down there. And in several cases, business owners have fallen upon some tough times because of decisions they've made of their own business decisions that have not panned out for them. They meet with us. We unfortunately can't provide them with the financial assistance that they ask for, but we certainly work with them to try to turn things around outside of providing them with money.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you. Excuse me, Madam Solicitor, you had something to add on the prior?
No, well, Councilor Kennedy will be finding the motions anyway. What I was going to note, though, was that I'm not certain that the provisions that you were referring to had originally been in the special conditions. I think those might have always been in the general conditions. I do know that the special conditions that were listed were as examples. Those were, I believe, the only special conditions, and that's why a decision was made to just roll those into examples and just use them on a case-by-case basis. The other language, I'll check on the 402. I think that's actually what we currently have. There was some language in some of the rules that currently exists that was still incorporated into these new rules. That may be one of them, but nevertheless, we can certainly take a look at some sort of clarifying language to improve upon that.
Thank you. Councilor Martin and then Councilor Mendoza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to go back to the motion that Councilor Leahy filed about the Sun Building Apartments. I had filed similar motion in the past, and I just don't, I don't know, if, Mr. Manager, if you have an expectation as to what's going to happen. I mean, certainly there's some signs of encouragement. They're spending money on architects. They've got a financing plan, I guess, that they're working on. Yet it's been many, many months and nothing's done. They say they're looking for a contract who could complete the work before the winter this year, and yet in the memo it says the work's going to take 18 months. So, you know, which one is it? What do we expect to have happen? Is there a realistic light at the end of the tunnel here, or is this just going to continue to flounder?
If I could ask Assistant City Manager Bakey to address that.
Sure. Good evening. Not surprisingly, this is a fairly complex situation with respect to both financing and the sort of complexities of the way that the city can be involved in trying to expedite matters with them. In a nutshell, the scaffolding that is up as a result, as basically a protective measure. It was built in such a way that it also can eventually act as the staging platform for actual work on the building when they get to that. But it was actually installed because the conditions of the building were such that the sidewalk below needed to either be closed completely or protected, and that's what's in place. This particular building was renovated in the 1970s, I believe, in conjunction with the Father John's Medicine Building on John Street, and they are financed, owned, and managed as a package, even though they're obviously physically unconnected. So in order to refinance sufficiently to make funds available to do the actual permanent work that the building needs to have done, they actually had to refinance both properties. In order to do that, the market circumstances are such that because they are income restricted housing and there's a limit on what they can charge for rents, they can't just get conventional financing in sufficient amount against the rental income that they have in order to actually do the work that needs to get done. So they have to finance it basically through HUD, through a basically housing subsidy program that allows them to refinance. Unfortunately, even that is not enough to do to cover the costs of the work that they have to handle. So they're also in the process of assembling historic tax credits and seeking some other sources of funding as well to get sufficient money into the deal to be able to both address the immediate needs of the Lowell Sun building, but also because they're financing through HUD, HUD has certain housing quality standards that I think we've discussed in other contexts in the past, that those units aren't up to the current standard in either building. So they actually have to upgrade both buildings on a number of things that are, I guess, passable or acceptable, but not up to the standards that HUD expects now on properties they finance, which has the effect of increasing the expense of the project and making it therefore more complicated. So in order to assemble all of that financing has really been the challenge, and HUD also, I guess, has to approve the general contractor, and the building owners had a contractor lined up that they were expecting would start construction in March, and HUD did not approve that contractor, and that's the reason there was mentioned that they have to find a new contractor. The city has been trying to help them with carrots and assistance in obtaining some of that financing needs that they have and trying to help in a positive way. But we've also been trying to use frankly, the sticks that we have available through the building department, which really are about protecting public safety. And there are a number of issues with the Lowell Sun building that are violations of the building code or other public safety issues. That is what has led to the necessity of the scaffold. One of the other issues has to do with the condition of the fire escape on the building. And that's one of the things that the building commissioner has basically asked that they expedite the removal of. They've already got it sealed off so it can't be actually used, but it's in a somewhat precarious situation, although apparently their structural engineer has certified that it is not in immediate danger of falling, but it does need to be removed. So what they have agreed to try to do before winter, because each winter cycle makes the deterioration worse and increases the potential for problems with the building, what they have agreed to do their best to get done, and we basically have to work with them to trust them, but also push them to make sure it happens, is all of the basic public safety necessities that have to be done before the next winter. The actual full construction project, including the renovations of the units and everything that has to happen, is going to be an 18 to 24 month construction project, and that's what that reference in there is. I think it's unfortunately quite likely that the scaffold will be in place for the majority of that 18 to 24 month, if not the entire 18 to 24 month period, because of just the nature of all the work that has to be done. There is some immediate work that will get done, but they're going to use it as a platform for construction. So I know that's not what anyone wants to see, myself included, but ultimately we don't have, as long as it is a matter of public safety and they are complying with what they need to comply with to meet public safety, we don't have too many tools to sort of force them to remove something that's actually a protective measure in response to basically the demands of the building commissioner. With respect to the business there at Sogo, we have had some conversations with them, and we have also pushed the Lowell Sun building owners. At Sogo is actually located in an adjacent building, but we've pushed the Lowell Sun building owners to communicate regularly with them and make accommodations for them. They have done so in the form of some signage, and we keep, basically every time we have the chance, we keep reminding them of the importance of doing that, because obviously that's an important business for us, and we want to see them see the impacts mitigated as much as possible. But ultimately we've got a very complex situation here of balancing a whole bunch of things, and ultimately as much as I like to come before you and prioritize economic development, public safety is a priority ahead of even that, and we can't force them to remove the scaffold that is actually a protective measure, because doing so would mean the entire sidewalk would probably be closed, and that doesn't help the businesses either.
Thank you. Councilman Donson, and then Councilor Kennedy.
I'm actually have a comment about a separate item. There's communication from us regarding handicap signage, that a petitioner asked that we consider removing a second sign that was recently approved. And the communication indicates that the person that requested that one of those two signs will be moving, actually it's stated today, and that the second sign will be removed. There is a recommendation in the memo that because of this, it shows that maybe we need a policy or some criteria in order that situations like this shouldn't overburden a particular street or neighborhood. I was trying to find an appropriate subcommittee. Closest one I could find was neighborhoods. So I'll make a motion to refer the matter to the neighborhood subcommittee unless someone can suggest a better subcommittee.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilor Noon. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Councilor?
That's all I had. Thank you.
Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I just had a couple of follow-up questions, Adam, if I could. You mentioned 18 to 24 months. Is that the construction period?
Yeah, that's what they're telling us.
Okay. So that 18 to 24 months wouldn't begin until the tax credits are in place?
Actually, at this point, they're very close to having all of the state historic tax credits they can get, and the federal ones are essentially in place as well. Basically the last steps before they can start construction are to secure a new general contractor, get HUD to approve that general contractor, and then close on the financing with HUD. And they are telling us that will happen soon enough that they can get that contractor to perform the immediate public safety stuff before the winter.
So all of the preliminary stuff that's necessary before the construction period begins, would that take 6 months?
Well, I guess I can't tell you for sure how long it will take. I would love for it to be done, frankly. And you know, I've seen it take less time than it is taking on this particular project as well. But if they are going to, sort of working backwards, if they are going to have that contractor in place and have the immediate stuff that needs to get dealt with before winter, done before winter, I would presume that contractor would need to be being given a notice to proceed maybe in August. So working from there, I assume, you know, between now and August, they would get all that preliminary stuff done. But I don't want to make a promise that I really don't control the timing on.
Right.
With respect to that.
So I guess we're probably looking at the scaffolding being up 2.5 years.
I think that is potentially a reality, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay.
An unfortunate one, but a reality.
Any further discussion? Councilman Donta.
Just also in our packet was the financial review for the third quarter. Seemed very positive. I'm still concerned a little bit about wastewater, but I think we can wait a little while longer to see what the projections become at budget time, and we'll take care of it then. The other item is the manager provided us with a proposed capital plan for 2014 a little bit earlier so that we could begin the discussion. And my question to the manager is, what is the suggestion as to where we proceed from here with the capital plan?
I think,
Mr.
Mayor, is that the next step really would be, there's a loan order included within that, so it would be to move it to a public hearing, and we could take that up at that time. So we could do that on the, I believe we could do that on the 30th or May 6th, so that we can get that rolling, and then as a result of that, start the project, assuming it's all approved, we can start on many of these projects in this construction season, which we would desperately like to do.
All right. Given that, I'll make the motion that we refer this to a public hearing. Does the clerk have a date that be preferred to allow for advertising?
Probably May 6th would be better for advertising purposes.
Okay, so I'll refer to a public hearing on May 6th. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilor Kennedy. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Anything further, Councilman Johnson?
No.
No. Councilor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On that financial report, there was one thing I found somewhat strange. Since the negotiations with the unions on health benefits, we've talked about savings. In the general fund, If you go on to healthcare, we show substantial savings over the next couple of years. But if you go to wastewater and water, under health and dental insurance, it goes up 20% from 2013 to 2014, and probably the same in the water. Yeah, it goes up about 20% from 2013 to 2014 in both cases. Why would they show an increase?
I think what you'll see when you look at this is we underestimated 2013. It's not 2014 or 2015, or actually if you look back at actuals in 2012, it's actually 2013 that was estimated too low. And I'm not sure why that happened.
And that's in both. And when you look at the general fund, it shows a decrease, but yet it's 20% on both of those areas, and it just sticks out like a sore thumb. I just don't understand.
I can report back on that.
Oh, yeah, no. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the financial report, under parking, Mr. Manager or Mr. Moses, you see the revenue is down by $112,000. Why would garage revenue be down by $145,000?
Decreased utilization.
Just less people going into the, is it one particular garage, or is it all of them?
Do you know that in the garages?
I don't have the detail for each particular garage with me. I do know there is variation between the garages. The early garage is up, and some of the others are down. That's another thing that I can follow up.
Okay, great. Fine, revenue is down also. Why is that? People are either they're feeding the meters because the meter is up, or less tickets, or?
I would assume it's less tickets, that people are staying at the, they're not parking without paying the meters, that they're not parking in toll zones,
Okay.
Any number of other possibilities.
I guess on the front page are just a couple of the building permits and Medicaid receipt. Medicaid receipts, reimbursement from federal, state government, is that what we're concerned about? Is it not coming in?
Ironically, after I authored that report, $300,000 came in a couple of days later. So I had explained in there that there's most of that money comes in the last week of the fiscal year, 2 weeks. So it's really impossible to forecast that.
Okay, but we're hoping it's coming in. It's not part of sequestration.
We hope every year it's coming in.
Right, we hope. Okay, and then just building permits, they're down pretty significant, huh?
It's just general building is down.
Right.
And that will show up on our new growth.
Right, so down by 32% from third quarter at this time last year.
Correct, and we had some big projects last year, I believe, that came through. The Freudenberg building was a big one. I think Lowell General might still have had some last year, and the Community Health Center were big ones last year.
So
this year we didn't have those. Now that should change in this summer, because the County House lofts will be coming in, as well as a couple of other large projects that we're anticipating.
So will you just, and I think you answered my next question. So if building permits are down, that means the new growth factor that we projected will also be less?
Not for this year. This year will be all right, that's already been certified. And actually, in all likelihood, next year, the new growth isn't tracking quite as well as we'd like to see, but I think the building permit issue actually would probably have a bigger impact on the following fiscal year. But again, it depends on the construction schedule of some of these other projects, like Counting House Lofts. I think that should be completed in about a year, thereabouts, so that one we might catch in time. But that is an issue. We've been doing very well, comparatively speaking, in terms of our new growth numbers compared to other communities. So I think it's a sort of a period of adjustment here that's taking place.
Thank you.
Council Leahy?
Thanks. I just wanted to add one thing, too. A lot of us were at Clemente Park this week, and just wanted to say that they've done a great job with that park. The new concession building and the bocce courts, place has really come a long way, and just wanted to pass that along and say thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the communications? Motion to accept and place on file, so moved by Councilman Mendoza, second by Council Laurie. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Being after 7 o'clock, we now move to the public hearing portion of the agenda. We have a general public hearing for an ordinance to amend Chapter 266, Vehicles in Traffic. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilman Mendoza, second by Councilman Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So voted. Reading by title. Ordinance in City Council, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances for the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, the code with respect to Chapter 266 entitled Vehicles in Traffic. I'd open it up for those wishing to speak in favor. In favor? In favor? Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. I'd open it up for those wishing to speak in opposition. In opposition? In opposition? Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Move for approval by Council Mercia, second by Council Mendoza. Roll call, please.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendoza.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Next, we have a utility public hearing for waveguide to install underground fiber optic cable conduit for communication at 10 and 15 Technology Drive. At this point, I'd open it up for those wishing to speak in favor.
Arthur Callahan, I'm representing waveguide. We're contracted by a company called 186 Communications to build a fiber optic system from New Hampshire down to Boston, with a small section in Lowell. We're renting Verizon conduit, and they have a block duct situation. And that's what this conduit is for, to get us from one Verizon manhole to another.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? In favor? Seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition, seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Councilor Elliott?
I just had a question. Are they already doing this work?
No.
Well, somebody's was out there today, and most of the road was blocked.
At the corner of Westford and Technology Drive.
On Technology Drive, yeah. Not you?
No.
Okay.
Councilor Laurie?
Thank you.
Just, you're going to provide fiber optics? Excuse me, I got a cold.
That's okay.
To the university?
This is a dark fiber system that they sell to other, either larger companies that provide their own circuits. We just give them a path to from point A to point B.
Okay.
All right. They may be selling to the university, but there's no plans right now.
Well, that's, when I was just reading it quick, I thought that's what I had seen, but I could be wrong.
Thank you.
UMass Lowell down at the bottom. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, got the wrong one. I was just looking at the fiber optics. We've been trying to get that in the city for years.
Fiber optics?
Yeah.
Well, Verizon must have it, yeah.
We haven't had that.
Fios, there's some other fiber in the city, but we don't have Fios.
Fios, you mean to the home?
But it is in the city.
It isn't. I would assume it is.
Okay, thank you.
I'd entertain a motion to refer to the wire inspector for a report and recommendation. So moved by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Mendonça. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Next, we have a communication. The city manager requests approval of out-of-state travel, 2 for the health department, 2 for the library, and 2 for the Lowell Police Department. What's the wish of the council? Council Mercia.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to put this 6 out-of-state travel requests. I'd like to just take one separately, and that is the out-of-state travel for the Lowell Police Department, because they're requesting that we amend the travel so that they can approve and satisfy the reimbursement process, because they underestimated the cost. So I would just make a motion on that on the separate one, to approve the amended out-of-state travel and let the changes reflect the accompanying memo. So
we'll take the vote on the first one to approve the amendment, approve as amended by Council Mercia, seconded by Council Mendonça. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you. Next, we have 2 for the health department, 2 for the library, and the second from the police department.
Move to approve.
Move approval
Move for
of all.
approval by Council Mendonça, seconded by Council Laurie. Roll call, please.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Thank you. Next, we have a vote to approve the license agreement for 748 Lakeview Ave for an overhanging awning. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Noon, seconded by Council Mercia. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Reading by title, vote. In City Council, authorizing the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Maria Luzariaga of Maria's Multi-Service to encroach upon the City of Lowell property at 748 Lakeview Avenue of Lowell, Massachusetts. What's the wish of the council?
Approve.
Move for approval by Council Martin, seconded by Council Laurie. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to transfer $94,231 to the Elections Department. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Noon, seconded by Council Laurie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Reading by title, vote. In City Council, order to transfer funds in the election office to cover expenses in various accounts for anticipated costs in connection with 2 special senatorial elections. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Move for approval by Council Elliott, seconded by Council Mendonça. Roll call.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Mayor.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Council Elliott.
Mr. Manager, is there any discussion that we might get reimbursed for any part of this from the Secretary of State or the state?
I have not heard that
No.
as of now, but I know I'll be meeting with the Municipal Association in 2 weeks, and that will be a topic of discussion.
Okay, great, thank you.
Next, we have a
Mr.
vote.
Mayor.
Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I noticed that this transfer is coming out of the manager's contingency fund. It's coming out of your contingency fund. I think the next item up is coming out of your contingency fund as well. And I would just like to have like a ledger, like how much did you have and how much do you have left and what was paid out from it, just for information's sake, that's all. Is that a problem?
It's not a problem at all, Councilor. These, we had $300,000 to start the year. I believe that was cut back some.
Right.
These transfers are the first that have hit that
Yeah,
contingency
so I'd
fund.
like to see where it went, as it's going
It's-
to a
this
good
is-
use. I know, but I'd like to see it all.
These are the only
This
ones.
is the only ones we had. Well, I'd like to know what we have left, that's all. Maybe I might want some of that.
We'll get that for you.
Thank you.
Of course, we still have to take the vote. Vote to transfer $115,000 to the Law Department. Counsel Kennedy.
For you too, Mr. Moses, we get a report from you anyways for every transfer over 25 grand, right?
That's right, but everything that comes out of the contingency you vote on.
I'm sorry?
Everything that comes out of the contingency you vote on.
Yes.
Right.
But
That's separate and distinct from the information that I send you, everything over $20,000 that you don't need to vote on.
you mean you don't, right, but you don't include stuff that we vote on in the report that you give us?
No, I don't, because you see it when you vote on it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, do you want to amend that?
Any further discussion? Counsel Kennedy.
I'm sorry. I think when the motion was made, which was my motion, it was just include every transfer, so that we'd be doing essentially what Councilor Mercy, the information that Councilor Mercy is asking for would be there. I don't know that it's necessary to make a distinction, or that it's a lot more work. I don't know why you have to make a distinction between stuff that's voted on and not voted on. If we just get a report of the transfers, then that
Yeah.
settles the whole thing, right?
Well, I think, if I may, and obviously it's not a problem to do this. I think the motion that was made and approved by the council was requesting that when we do internal transfers, that we let the council know that they have happened for informational purposes, because otherwise the council wouldn't know that those were happening. These transfers, for example, the transfers out of contingency, or the council has done other transfers during the year where we've transferred money out of the health insurance fund, or I'm trying to think of a couple more. I thought there were a couple more in there. That obviously we don't need to provide the council with that information because the council has actually voted those transfers, so they don't. Our assumption was that you wouldn't need to be informed that you were.
Because the council already knows since they voted on it.
Exactly.
Right. But I guess the motion didn't take that into consideration, and it should be no trouble to just include those with the report. That's all that I'm saying.
Counselor, I'd just like to clarify. I write a cover memo to the council that describes every transfer.
Yeah.
Some require votes and some don't, but you get a communication from me on every transfer that you want to hear about.
I don't think that we don't get it on internal transfers for less than 25 grand.
That's correct.
So we don't get it on every single one. I don't even know why we're having a discussion about this. I don't know why you just can't be included.
Neither do I, Counselor.
Just include the ones that we vote on with the others, and then everybody's all set.
But Counselor, it is. It's right here. For this one, there's a memo dated April 11th.
I understand that. I'm not taking issue with what's on the agenda this evening. I guess what I'm doing is addressing what Councilor Mercy brought up, and I'm just saying that if we get a report, then Councilor Mercy would have a report on every transfer as we went along. So there would be a ledger, is what she was asking about.
And of course, these are the first transfers that have been made from that account.
Yep.
And we still have to take a vote on the second transfer. So I'll just read that now. $115,000 from the Law Department. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Noon, second by Councilor Mercy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Reading by title, vote. In City Council, order to transfer funds to cover anticipated shortfalls in the Law Department of $115,000. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Move for approval by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Mendonça. Any discussion? Councilor Elliott.
I just want to get an explanation why there's this increase, Mr. Manager, or through you to the Law Department, only because my question is, we get a report on Lowell stat, and one of the big areas of savings was workers' comp, but apparently there wasn't that big a savings, and I'm kind of curious why.
I think, and I don't have that, the the detail on this, but actually, the workers' comp budget has been cut dramatically over the last several years. And I believe the city council reduced the workers' comp budget last year below what was proposed by the administration. And it was a worthwhile effort, but we can't control fully what workers' comp claims come in. So we need the additional $115,000 this year to cover the claims that we have. And but if you look over time, workers' comp and the injured on duty accounts have been really brought into control and cut dramatically over the last several years. And we'd be happy to get a report to you on that.
Took the words right out of my mouth. It would just be good to see, where, where the issues are. I mean, because one of the issues was we were going to get there's going to be training or a handbook handed out, and we were going to continue to see a gradual decrease. So that'll be helpful to see that report.
Yep.
I think, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Solicitor.
We got you.
I was just going to add to what the manager had said. The other thing that doesn't appear here, aside from the cut, I can double check. I think the cut was a cut greater than 115,000, but it's somewhere in that range. Last year we did actually manage to stay within the budgeted amount, which I think is always a challenge. But the other thing that isn't reflective in this is that the city has done well as of late this year, included in settling what we refer to as lump sum complaints, claims, so that employees that are receiving life benefits from the city, we could continue paying X amount of dollars per week, per month. But we have, in more recent years, been able to negotiate what we think are profitable settlements. We have other settlements that we could still entertain, but it's only when we feel that we get it down to a number that really truly makes sense for us. We don't necessarily budget for that in particular, but we've been able to, with the savings, also negotiate some of these lump sum settlements, which might have a larger dollar value up front, but in the long run are going to end up saving the city even more money for workers' comp in the years to come. So that also is part of what necessitated the transfer this year.
Councilor Elliott.
Could you just give an example of one of those lump sum? Somebody gets injured, and they go out for an extended period?
Lifetime.
That's verified by doctors or?
That's correct. They receive what in layman's terms would be referred to as lifetime benefits. And so we have had in years past employees that have been receiving benefits for decades. And
for decades?
Again, they are intended to be lifetime benefits, but you do have an option to negotiate those for an upfront amount of money, and that then resolves the lifetime claim. So again, you end up spending, obviously, a sizable amount of money up front, but in the long run, mathematically, the city is going to benefit, and it may be much further down the road, but the benefit will be there. Financially, it will make sense to do these things. So this is what we've been doing now for a number of years, and this year, we had some great success, I think, in that area. But that's what also has fed into the need to supplement that account, as well as the.
This is school and city, or just?
This one's just
both?
the city line item.
Just the city?
Just the city line item.
And who manages the school side?
We do.
We do?
We do.
And do we see the same trend in the school side, or?
It's an effort that we have made across the board, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. I just wanted to go back to the memo. Through you to Mr. Moses. you know, we did get the attachment, and that's good. I wasn't here when Councilor Kennedy asked for reports on transfers, but you did put a line in that just said, you know, there is less than 100,000 remaining in the account, and that's good information. But if Councilor Mercia would like more detailed, you know, maybe just, we could avoid a whole report by just putting, this is the second transfer, and give us the dollar amount. And then that would kind of just satisfy everybody. So I would just ask that that information be put in the reports. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Mercia.
I did see that, but I thought it meant that you had less than 100,000 in the workman's comp line items, and you needed more, so I didn't know that that referred to your contingency account.
Mr. Banninger.
I think in the difficulty of some of this is that we can say that it covers all of these. If the council rejected one, then there would be more than $100,000 in there. See, that's, we don't know until it's done. It's easier to respond to Councilor Mercia's request, simple request now of, Mr. Manager, how much money is left in that account? Can we get a breakdown of that? And we can report that back. Doing it ahead of time is problematic when we have 3 of them on the table. So, obviously, we're happy to give information. But
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to transfer $7,500 from DPW. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Mendonça, second by Councilor Noon. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Vote in City Council order to transfer funds to the Department of Public Works to cover costs for the special election to move the equipment to the polling locations in the amount of $7,500. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Move for approval by Councilor Laurie, second by Councilor Kennedy. Roll call, please.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy.
Yes.
Counselor Leahy.
Yes.
Counselor Laurie.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Mendonça.
Yes.
Counselor Mercia.
Yes.
Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Counselor Nguyen.
Yes.
That's 9 yeas.
Next, we have an ordinance to amend Chapter 56 for personnel. An ordinance in City Council. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Laurie, second by Councilor Noon. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Ordinance in City Council. An ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts with respect to Chapter 56 entitled Personnel by striking out this chapter in its entirety and substituting therefore a new Chapter 56 Personnel. I'd entertain a motion to refer to a public hearing on April 30th, 2013 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Noon. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have subcommittee reports. Any subcommittee reports? Next, we have utility petitions. Utility petition for UMass Lowell to attach a new cable on existing poles in the right-of-way along Hall Street and across Aiken Street. Entertain a motion to refer to a public hearing on April 30th, 2013 at 7 p.m. So moved by Councilor Elliott, seconded by Councilor Mendonça. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have motions. Motion by Councilor Mercier, request the city manager have Commissioner of Parks find ways and means of enclosing the entrance to Wedge Park, Todd Park, for the safety of children. Second by Councilor Mendonça. Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks for itself. Thank you.
All those in favor? Councilor Mendonça.
Just several months ago, I think we had an issue about the gate at this park, and I thought we had settled it then, so I don't know if the maker of the motion could just specify what it is that's not
Right.
working correctly.
Okay. This particular, I guess the motion doesn't speak for itself, okay? But I will just say that this is a beautiful tot park, and there's a lot of young families in that neighborhood, and they like to go over with their children. Some leave the children with their grandmother. The grandmother goes over there. There's a beautiful entrance with a beautiful ornamental gate. The gate weighs so much that it's hard to, you can't even close it to keep the children in. So rather than disturb that beautiful ornamental gate, it is incumbent upon us to find some sort of ways and means to close that off. So I'm thinking with a little type of wrought iron that matches the ornamental gate, and then put a little gate in there so that they can come and shut it. It's not a big deal, and we've already kind of understood that. Thank you. Do you understand that?
I do now, because before, they were afraid that the heavy gate would hurt somebody.
Right.
So they chained it open.
Right.
And people complained that it was chained open. They were afraid the kids would leave the park or run out, young children would run out of the park, and so they wanted to be able to close it. At the time, I'd comment that I wanted a solution that would work, and apparently that one did not. Now I can understand that what you're asking for is actually a more manageable gate to be used.
There you go, bingo. I knew you got it. Thank you. The motion does speak for itself. Thank you.
Mr. Manager?
I was just going to say that that's what we're doing, is we're adding a manageable chain link entrance gate, so.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next motion by Council Kennedy, request the city manager report to the council on the schedule and scope of the municipal lien auction for 2013. Seconded by Council Leahy. Council Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, we did this for the first time last year. I'm expecting that we would do it every single year, and so all I'm really looking for from the manager is the schedule of when we're going to be doing it and what the scope, or how much money will be involved in terms of the municipal lien auctions. Maybe that's something we can get within 1 or 2 weeks. Mr. Manager, how long should it take?
I'm not sure we'll have the dollar amount in that period of time. We're looking to do this in August, I'll tell you that, but
Okay.
I don't know if we'll have the dollar amount for you, so for a little bit more time, we might be able to do that.
Madam Solicitor?
Right. So as Mr. Moses just advised me, we don't even know exactly how much we have out there until we're done with all of the takings, which doesn't take place till June.
Okay.
So, which is basically what I was saying with the
Okay.
time.
Can I just ask, when do you think that we'll have the budget? When do you expect to give the budget to us?
We've been very good in the last 7 years of getting a budget out by the end of May, beginning of June, beating the tradition in the city of having it done at the end of June. We'll be shooting for that same target.
Budget to the council by the
End of May, beginning of June. Mhm.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Council Leahy.
Could I just ask about the question about the budget? When I was at a city, a neighborhood meeting last night, I thought the Recs department was looking for a number by the end of May to put their, hiring. So if we're not ready until June, how are they gonna be ready by May for hiring?
I've instructed Mr. Bellegarde to move forward, and we can make alterations within that
Okay.
budget.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next motion by Council Leahy, request the city manager of proper department install crosswalks on Varnum Avenue where needed between West Meadow Road and Totman
Second.
Road. Second by Council Kennedy. Council Leahy.
Thank you. A number of neighbors had contacted me requesting that we look at basically from West Meadow Road down to Totman. There's quite a few streets on the right. The sidewalk is on the left side of the street. So the kids are either walking down the dirt path or the bike lane on the right side. And parents have requested that we go up there and take a look, see what's feasible. But for the safety of crossing, if the kids could have a few crosswalks. And we might want to look in the other direction, but I think the majority of the kids are going down towards Totman Road. So if we could do that, they'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next motion by Council Leahy, request the city manager draft letter on behalf of citizens of Lowell regarding concern for the high-priced cable and internet fees, sending letter to the appropriate state agency. Second by Council Kennedy. Council Leahy.
Thank you. The motion basically speaks for itself. Over the last few weeks, we've had the cable subcommittee, or the subcommittee. That was one of the questions that everybody was asking. Number of the councils have brought that up. So if this is the way that we need to address the issue of cost, then we should do so. So if this passes, and we can send a letter and let a City of Lowell be heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Last motion of the night by Council Leahy and Council Kennedy. Request the city manager instruct proper department provide paving schedule for calendar year 2013. Not requiring a second. Council Leahy, Kennedy?
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, we could just get a paving schedule that would include roads and patches with that machine that we purchased some sort of a machine that does big patches. So I would imagine that the schedule would have repairs for that. Some streets don't need to be repaved and dug up, but there are certain sections that are in dire repair. And I suppose that would include sidewalks too, if we're doing any paving of sidewalks.
All right,
Mr. Manager.
The patching work is somewhat flexible in terms of what we're doing there, but we'll see what we can get on that. In terms of the street work, I can tell you right now that the plan includes Floyd Street from Central to Kinsman, White Street from Riverside to Mount Hope, Wood Street from Middlesex to Westford, Westford Street from School to Chelmsford, Middlesex Street from Central to Garnett, Lakeview Ave from Bridge to West 6th, and Middlesex Street from Pawtucket to Wilder. Those are major roads this year we're trying to hit at. That's with the traditional Chapter 90 money that we receive. We're also expecting that the state will increase that by about $900,000. I think it's $900,000 this year, which allows us to go even further into our paving list, but we haven't been able to program that yet because we don't know if that money's coming. And the capital budget includes about $1 million for additional street paving this year that should enable us to do quite a bit more work beyond that as well as including about $300,000 for engineering and surveying work to attack the unaccepted streets. And the $1 million that we'll be doing out of the capital is will be primarily unaccepted streets in the city.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just on the motion, just to clarify, I think that what we're looking for here is, and it's good that you've got the Chapter 90 list to give to us verbally, but it would be better if we got a written report, and maybe that would include what streets would be done under the, if we get the extra Chapter 90 money, but also what streets would be on the list for, with the $1 million too, so that we just have so that people can anticipate whether or not their street's going to get done this year or not. I think it's just a helpful thing for neighborhoods to have, and certainly helpful for city councils to have.
Mr. Manager.
And Councilor, we traditionally get that list out in the spring timeframe so that people have that information. The difference this year is we are waiting. That Chapter 90 money is something new that's being talked about, and obviously the $1 million. So all of that is being programmed. So we want to be able to get it all out in one package so that we don't have people. We want everyone to know up front what's happening this year.
Right. And I think, just if I could just add on to what Councilor Leahy brought up, I know that, patchwork and so forth has to be done flexible, and you don't have a list of everything that's going to be patched, probably. But one of the things that, when we were discussing jointly filing this motion, Councilor Leahy brought up the fact that there are probably some streets that maybe just a 20 or say 30, 40-foot segment has to be done, and that's really it, and the rest of the street is kind of fine.
Right.
And so, maybe some of those could be considered as well. And I don't have any of those offhand, but I think that there's a lot of areas where it's like that.
Right. The DPW has a good sense of that, and they're putting that list together as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Laurie.
On this motion, a couple of weeks ago, I was up at the engineer's office. I've had calls to get some streets paved. I know one was C Street in the Highlands, and I think we all heard about Fulton Street in Centerville. So I looked at the map, and it's online. On the conditions of the roads in this city, and 1 million isn't anywhere near.
No.
And I think it was during maybe the plan that we had a couple of weeks ago, we were going through the neighborhoods. The engineers, and I talked to Tom Moses today on this too, they came up with this, really a great formula to keep the streets where they are now, which is about 70%, it's about $4 to $6 million.
Correct.
To increase the roads in the city is gonna take an investment of about $8 to $9 million.
Correct.
So 1 million, really, I mean, this is down the line with the budget as we talk. But, you know, these figures are coming out of the engineer's office, and it's a decision.
Right. That's that $4 to $5 million is close to what we'll be spending close to that this year.
Right.
Between with the 1.8 in traditional Chapter 90, the additional 900,000 brings us up to about 2.7 plus the million. That gets us much closer to where we've never been that close before. To putting that kind of money. And then, as I indicated a couple of weeks ago, our plan is next year to be more aggressive with the capital budget because many of our facilities projects will be completed. Obviously, if the council so chooses, we can, increase the amount of borrowing, but that obviously has an impact on budgets moving forward.
Well, it's true, and again, excuse me, I have a cold. But I think that came out of the long-term planning we were looking at the past couple of months at the neighborhood meetings and things like that. But the investment, just to keep the streets in this city up to par, basically is going to be near $9–10 million, if I remember right.
To improve them, right?
Yeah.
To move them above the score of 70.
Yeah, to bring them up a little
Right.
higher. Yeah. So. Debate for another day.
Further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted.
Move we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Council Kennedy, second by Council Laurie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, we stand adjourned.
Good job, Patrick.